East and West. Chocolate versus vanilla. Skaven versus dwarves. And Petey the Power Dragon versus Pajadtron. Today, we settle two of these rivalries. And by settle, I mean simply add another addition to the times that these great foes have clashed. I'm Petey the Power Dragon, and welcome to a battle report. Today, we see Petey the Power Dragon, myself, Skaven of Clan Moors, facing off against the dwarfs of Pajadtron. Starting out with Pajadtron's army, he's gone with a fairly balanced infantry corps. A lot of Ekrund miners, dwarf warriors, a couple of blasting miners in order to kind of clear out some of that chaff, slayers for even more chaff munching, rune guardians for just complete tanks, a lord, as well as 2 units of gilded trying to screen out maybe some Eshin troops and 2 gyrocopters. Going over on the Skaven side, we have some clan rats and storm vermin, 2 warplock Jezzails, and kind of the eye catcher, the core, Grudge, Queek Head Taker, and the Red Guard. Red Guard provide that guardian aura for Grudge and Queek. Queek's got that warp shard armor. And if all goes well in that situation, then the Skaven can kind of win the infantry fight here. Hordes of storm vermin, very clan Moors. You got some plague monks behind here for their poison, and some Skaven slaves just for some bodies. Clan rat spears kind of hidden in the trees, and some wolf rats just as a screening force, as well as probably charging in the back. I misspoke. Wolf rats are truly deadly. Now let's get into it, because the action continues and it just does not stop from here on out. Skaven start to square up and just look at these. Oh, beautiful. The Jezzails are going to immediately start to get some volleys in as the Skaven weapons teams open fire. Immediately pelting away at these dwarvish axe horrors, and boom! The mighty doom rockets as they slam down from those officers. Honestly, I think that is one of the coolest effects. And you know, I'd hate to be a dwarvish slayer who gets hit by a rocket and then somehow survives. Like, how cool of a death would that be? Wolf rats start to go around the flank as the gilded continue to charge around, and immediately we got the infantry fight. Blasting miners and Grudge! Oof. Quite a bit of friendly fire there. I should probably have turned off those Jezzails because some rockets just went pelting straight into the back of the Red Guard. Queek and Grudge immediately just butchering. Blasting charges. I don't know why I added in some sound effects there, but it is truly amazing. The dwarves have actually started to flank out some of the Skaven slaves, catching them in, only to then get flanked by more Skaven slaves. Gyrocopters are coming in too as the gilded start to flank. Back here you kinda can see as the warplock Jezzails are basically shooting at the gyrocopters, trying to screen them out. In the center, rune guardians have stepped in. Grudge diving head first. Let's get some cool close-ups here. Oh, evisceration and warp frenzy. Queek may be surrounded, but that warp shard DOT effect is going to keep putting the hurt on all of these units. Gyrocopters not really where they want to be, getting shot up by the Skaven missile teams. But right next to it, dwarves are starting to make progress. Blasting miners breaking through the center and using their attacks to pound away at some of the Skaven infantry. Gilded, just slaughtering Skaven slaves. Looking to get straight into that cookie jar, sweet Jezzails, as those gyrocopters start to pelt them away at steam. This is a pretty tactically even scenario. Dwarvish slayers charging in as Jezzails pull back, and the fanatical contingents of the armies as plague monks and slayers collide. But one of those is going to win that fight handily. Wolf Rats really starting to clean up the back line right now. Able to kind of get into that cookie jar. Gorich just causing maximum displacement, and Queek finally realizing that he may not be in the right neighborhood fighting Rune Guardians and a Lord, decides to make a tactical skitter leap away. Skaven have started to break off the Gilded and are trying to move their Jezzails to a secure position, probably to get at those gyrocopters, while a few more of them rally in the trees. Meanwhile, the dwarves continue to try and consolidate their power, maybe knock out Queek and or Gorich with those Rune Guardians and that Lord. But unfortunately, the Rune Guardians are a whole lot slower than the Lord, and in changing targets, the Lord's now on an island. Immediately, the mistake is realized, and Pajed starts to pull back as Gorich and Queek go to rest up and get their vigor back. Slayers in the center here, valiantly fighting for the Karazhan core, but devoured anyways by the tides of rats. Gyrocopters flying overhead. Whoa! But the best is yet to come. Welcome to Astalia, gentlemen. I will not lie. Rune Guardians charging forward into the Skaven infantry and getting bogged down by the Jezzails as Gorich leaps into the fray once more, activating his Warp Frenzy and going straight for that Lord. Queek and Gorich are both much lower than the Lord, but they are just better combatants. But the dwarves are starting to clean up a little bit here on the flanks. These gyrocopters have started to get some serious damage, but if they don't close out those Jezzails, things could start to get ugly. Once again, Gorich just leaping into the Dwarvish Lord. And the Rune Guardians and the Gilded. Last Samurai charge! Oh, look at that officer! His Doom Rockets have caused so much damage. So many grudges. And oh! Counterfire in here by some of the other Skaven weapons teams. As the Gilded have started to close it out, Rune Guardians too are going to be a serious issue. Gorich and Queek have managed to rout the Dwarvish Lord, diving head first and ripping and tearing until it is done. Skaven now trying to consolidate their power here as they are in a more precarious position. Warplock Jezzails, they try to run away, but it's to no avail. I mean, I would make a very dangerous over short distances joke here, but I think horses are dangerous over most distances. And as they come in, so do the Rune Guardians. Oh! Watching those rockets will never get old. Dwarvish and Skaven infantry continues to fight it out here. Queek and Gorich have kind of withdrawn, let the Lord rally, and in exchange they're going to try and take infantry support over here. And you're starting to see just a tattered battlefield. In terms of what's left, we basically just have Queek and Gorich for the Skaven, which, while it's a very effective command center, considering the rest of what the Skaven have is really just chaff, it's not all that impressive, although the Plague Monks are doing quite well. The Dwarves have a bunch of stuff on some pretty low leadership. They do have Gyrocopters that are now unrivaled in the air, and Rune Guardians, but in terms of what else, they have a really low health Lord. And generally, that could be seen as offering more utility. Unfortunately, the Dwarves, right after shouting, "Do not shame your ancestors," getting cut down by the right paw of Lord Nodwell. And now, the Dwarves are going to get some payback here. Finally, the Gyrocopters can fly, unfazed by threats from the ground, as they pour down steam. Now, this is a bit of a shuffly game here, as I kind of weasel my way around these Gyrocopters here, trying not to get fried. Not very successfully, might I add. So we take a look over here. Oh, little Skaven giblets flying everywhere. But what really matters is I'm fresh and active, and You know, I mean, a few Skaven are dying for Gorich and Queek to get a breather, but that's a worthy sacrifice. Gyrocopters here almost out of ammunition, but they have just been slaughtering. Steam guns just charging that last volley. And now the headquarters are all set up. The Lord charging forth, a little bit tired, Ekron miners, Dwarvish axewarriors, and rune guardians, as well as gyrocopters, versus some tattered storm vermin, clan rats, and plague monks, alongside Queek Headtaker, the right paw of Lord Nodwell, and the Castellan of Hellpit. Who will win? Those forged at the depths of the Karazhan core, made to destroy the Skaven, or those forged in a different kind of war, of blood and betrayal? Oh, Gorich has to be one of the coolest heroes in the game, just in terms of how he operates. He's a rare sight, but he always brings that flavor. And now, the Skaven begin to charge. Now keep in mind, Queek does have that Warp Shard armor. He's got that DOT effect, and I'm kinda looking for a bit of a blob fight here. Gyrocopters start to move up, but I know they're not gonna land, and if they do, they're just gonna have a bad day and get destroyed. If Pajad wanted to keep his rear charge potential, he ought to save them or the Gilded, or better yet, both. I kinda mock charge Gorich, try and space out those Gilded a little bit. And now I begin the final exchange, heading the Clan Rats, Plague Monks, and Storm Vermin directly into the teeth of the Rune Guardians, while getting Queek and Gorich around the flanks for maximum effectiveness with their AP. Ekron Miners get a miniature volley off, but it isn't enough as Gorich just brutally cuts into them. And now Queek is in there. Evisceration by the Castellan of Hellpit. It's just horrific fight in here. Gorich drawing back. Skaven are flying, dwarfs are flying, giblets are everywhere. Blood for the blood god. Queek, one strike, takes down a Rune Guardian. 2 strikes, takes down a Rune Guardian. 3 strikes, takes down a Rune Guardian. And then in a strike takes down a Gyrocopter. Queek is on a rampage, just slaughtering the Rune Guardians left and right. Gorich comes in, cleaves another one in 2 as they keep going. Rune Guardians are falling, they're faltering. Gorich keeps his swinging going. Gyrocopters are exploding. They're on no HP. The Rune Guardians, Gorich and Queek. And just like that. Such an amazing shot. Such an amazing replay. Big thanks, though, before I get into the post-battle analysis, to Pajadtron. He played very, very well, and I beat him. Yeah. So all jokes aside, both parties employed some conventional tactics with a slightly unusual twist. Bringing gyrocopters against the Skaven, while it is rewarding, can also be very risky because of Jezzails. But Pajad managed to keep just one of them safe long enough for them to just start toasting stuff. Same thing with Rune Guardians, as well as his Miners, his Slayers. Everything was just carving through Skaven, left and right as he went. Meanwhile, over on the Skaven side, actually kind of won the infantry fight, which is a surprising thing to hear when you're considering Skaven. They normally kind of win the infantry fight because they killed everything else. Wolf Rats helped to really outflank the dwarves, and it was an exchange of Gilded end up pressuring the Jezzails in exchange for the Wolf Rats routing off the front line. Plague Monks did pretty well for themselves, same thing with the Red Guard. Real MVP, though, Gorich, the Castellan of Hellpit, and Queek Headtaker, Warlord of Clan Moors. Well, for Pajad, in between those miners, those gyrocopters, and those gilded, they all did very, very well. I would add the Rune Guardians in there, but I do think that the Rune Guardians got just a little bit overextended and kinda shot up by the Jezzails. I think the big clincher for me was Queek's DOT with the Warp Shard armor. Without that, I wouldn't have been able to take out the gyrocopters and gilded and other infantry stuff rear charging me. And because of the Warp Shard armor, I was able to solely focus on the Rune Guardians, and that's when you got that, like, Queek made 5 hits, 5 Rune Guardians dropped dead. Just incredible game, and I thank you all for watching it. I hope you had a great time. Bye!